across the various platforms, the GBN Television Facebook page, the Grenada Broadcasting Network's YouTube channel, the website www.gbn.com, GBN Channel 7, 11, and 20, and the listeners of the sister stations, Classic 105, Hot 98. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the program once again. It is Government's Day here on the program, the day we facilitate a representative of the ruling administration. And this morning I have joining us virtually is Minister of Infrastructural Development, Honorable Gregory Bowen. Good morning, Minister Bowen. Wait, I don't find... there we go. Right.
Good morning to you and the listening public.
How are you this morning?
Yeah, very well given the circumstances. I can't complain. I think the Almighty has blessed me and blessed the nation in particular. So all I have to be doing is giving praise.
Very true. Thank you so much. This morning we will be dealing with part of the new regulations that have been highlighted by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell during the national address last Sunday as it relates to the resumption of work in the construction industry, something that I know a lot of people have been clamoring for since the island-wide shutdown because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and many are eager to get back to work on their various sites. But there are things that need to be done before that can resume. So just highlight for us the basic details as it relates to the resumption of work in the construction sector.
Yes, thank you very much. So let me start by continuing with the compliments of all the frontline workers and everyone who has been doing so much to assist in this fight against this dreaded COVID virus. I want to especially mention the public utilities, though, Nawasa, Greenlake, and the telecommunications sector. We all recognize that without the telecommunications sector, that in fact we will not be conversing now without them. So they have an important role to play. They may not be frontline, and all of us put our health foremost, which is understood and quite true. But I think these people, they have done a lot. And possibly we have not given them the due credit. So I just want to recognize this now. I also want to recognize the committee. That is the committee which I head for the reopening of the economy, the sector and construction. As you rightly put it, a lot depends on construction in the rebuilding of any economy. You hear it in the massive economies, Britain, in Asia, in Europe. You hear they look at massive construction program. And that kickstarts the economy. And I always wonder, why, in certain extent. It's good, it brings in a fast amount of revenues into people's pockets, but at the same time, it has effects on a lot of the other sector. So opening up the economy is very important. And you recognize that we spent a lot of time on it. I think the two most vital components of the economy is construction and transportation. And from these two, we can have a resurgence of the virus in quick time. That is because we have a lot of isolated areas, and it's distributed throughout the world. It's not like you say St. Andrew and maybe St. Patrick, they're good in agriculture, and maybe lower down, they're good in technology. And so, no, construction is throughout. And if you get it once, and a worker will leave from the north and come to work in the south and vice versa. Just so with transport, if they're going up and down, they leave from the north of the country and come to the south, go to the east, to the west, and so the virus can be spread. And that is of fundamental importance, and that's why we have taken the precaution in opening up this sector in the way we did. So let me just give you the areas that we decided will be opening in general terms. All construction projects, large or small, that were closed due to COVID-19 regulations, including work on the Maris Hill. That is of tremendous importance to us. And the Morning bypass, we have stopped, and we know the problems that those two pose. So these will be included in all construction projects, large or small, that were closed due to COVID. Now, any excavation work, and excavation work, you may have 2 machines, 3 machines, and at most you'll have 2 persons on a machine, and they're easy to control in that one on the machine at a time. So any construction work, we can continue with this. Excavation. Any construction project that has gone through all approval stages, physical development, etc., and has the financial resources available to commence. So because we want the economy to go, and we also say the projects, they're ready to commence. They have everything. They have lined the workers up, and so now they can start, call the workers up. Interior finishing at non-habitable sites. That is, nobody is there either working or living. So we can start there. And these projects can restart, or they can start. Small house renovations, construction works, inside, outside homes with residents. Yes, small house renovations that you have to go inside the people's home or very close on the outside to do some construction work. But as opposed to the first sector, you have people residing there, whether it's a family or a renter, as the case may be. These will only proceed if approved by the family or the resident, who has the added responsibility to monitor and ensure that the workers follow all the rules and regulations to prevent the spread of the COVID virus. Now, it sounds nice, but remember, it is these very residents and the families who want the work to be done. How do we ensure, therefore, that they do put an examining eyes on the workers? Because I want my pipe to be fixed, I want my bathroom to be fixed, so we may turn a blind eye. And sometimes, with a asymptomatic spread of the disease, the person will come into the home, a worker could come into the home, and the elderly grandmother or grandfather or the sickly son or even grandson could be affected. So we have to be particularly careful. And so we have given the household a responsibility. They must sign the forms that we have to say that, yes, you were there, and you'll find that we'll inspect these homes much more than where you have a house to be built, a small project that you come there where nobody is building. I think some people ask about that. Yes, if you're doing a project, nobody is in it. Yes, you will be inspected as well, but not as stringently as where you have people living in the project site, a project compound. Supporting sectors like the block making plant, they will be allowed to open because they must support the industry. Concrete and gravel, sand, the cement, well, you know, the stores were opened a while back. The concrete producers and the engineering consultancy, they must all be there to support the construction industry. So these will be reopened under the construction sector as we try to restart the economy. I don't know if you want me to go ahead, but I could just briefly mention some of the conditions. Everyone knows, I think, what business places must do. You follow the rules, the distancing, the wearing of masks, the sanitization. That is fundamental. If you cannot do that on the work site, you will not be allowed to open. That is why we have a registry. So you apply to this ministry, and the permanent secretary has already circulated the names and telephone numbers and addresses that you can call. You apply, and they keep a registry of all the sites and so that we can ensure that you are complying with the rules and regulations. And it's not only construction sector, every employer, every workplace must do these. But in addition, and particularly because of the smaller contractors, and particularly because we want to know who will be working with you. So we are ready for every construction site. We'll be working with the COVID-19 committee, and they will have a chart, a trace chart, you can call it. So anything comes up on any one of the sites, then you have your trace chart and you move. You know, the people will be working there, you know, the family, and even before you start the trace, you can know who they regularly contact with. So the work of the Ministry of Health is cut out and the tracing team. So we must understand why they're asking for more volunteers now as we open the economy more and more. So we have the registration process, and I know the permanent secretary went through this already. The application process is simply to ensure that you have the necessary amenities on site. You must have the wash basins for people to wash their hands. You must have the places on the entry to the work site where you have the sanitizers and so forth. And every so often, you sanitize the place where the people will be. You know, we like to construct a shed. That is a norm. And all of us come in and we change our clothes in the shed. I want to remind us that was one way that the COVID virus spread significantly at a workplace. Be careful. So the shared business, yes, it gives you some privacy, but we were asking the contractors, be very careful. You take your clothes off, you hang it next to the other one, etc., etc. Remember, you have a responsibility to yourselves, to the workers, and to your homes. So let us be very careful as we open up the sector. Inspection of sites, this will be done by a combination of medical people, the Ministry of Worksite, and the people in social services. Why social services? They have the other roles to play, but because housing and social services come together, and we know that they have some experience in this, so we have put a team together. It is that team that will be inspecting and will be advising the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Infrastructure Development, you know, that was the Ministry of Works, to approve or not approve a certain site. I want to commend our workers here because as of this morning, we have 200 applications. And these applications are only processed because of the secretaries and the other work people who listened on the phone, and when people came in, worked with them to complete the forms. And I did not see one angry applicant come in because they were assisted. And as they work now at the various parishes, then we put secretaries there and the road officers to help you complete the form. And we out there already looking at the site to say, yes, you have approval to go. But the first thing they will do when they apply is they have to make the site ready. Because many of us on sites did not put wash basins and things like that for people to wash their hands. We do not have a place where you have sanitizer, and the sanitizer must be at the entrance, not when you enter the job already. So all of these things must be in place. So you're given approval, then we'll come back and look at you and say, go ahead, you have things in place. You might find it cumbersome, but in every project today, you must do a risk analysis. And many of the projects that you do risk analysis for, health was at the lowest minimum. You know, it will be the environment, it will be the monetary nature, it will be the economy. But in today's world, the risk of spreading the COVID virus takes precedence, and so it must be done. Education, particularly for the people in the homes, those who want you to come do some repairs in the bathroom, in the toilet, and it's just a 3 days work or a 4 days work, but enough to make the risk of spreading the virus, significant. We have to get to them because they want the work done and they might turn a blind eye. Therefore, you'll see a lot working with the COVID committee, asking these people what to look for. And if the workmen wouldn't do it, not because you want it, you have a responsibility to say, no, stop this work until you get it right. And the contractors and the workmen, many of you are from the area that you will be doing the job. So you too have a responsibility. Because this virus did not hit us as hit the end of the world, we still see a lot of us do what we should not do. And in the construction sector in particular, we're asking for you to, yes, you must look after yourself, but let us go a bit further. Let us look after each other and the people, particularly the elderly people, who's so much more susceptible to this disease. Let us look after them.
In terms of working,
Yes.
works carried out at home, what if it is just one person? Do I still need to seek permission? Let's say it's just one plumber or one electrician.
We need to know. You apply, you get it, and you come in. And also, we want to get to that homeowner. Because that homeowner will say, oh, yes, my light is being fixed, and will not be monitoring as they should. So the emphasis and the responsibility on both the homeowner and the one person or the two persons, as the case may be.
Okay, got it.
So in a nutshell, I think After the PSs have really expounded on the other items, I will take questions, but these are some of the main areas that I want to elaborate on.
As with many of the easements that are taking place and getting to various places, businesses, the concern about public transportation continues to be among the many concerns by members of the public. And with construction now being able to resume, many of our construction workers rely on public transportation. What do the contractors have to ensure they do to get their workers to site? Is the responsibility of the contractors to get their workers to the site, to the work site?
Right now, before the initialization of resumption for the public transport, it is the responsibility of the contractor to get the workers to site. Yeah? And we know that in itself would sort of limit, right, the rate of which construction will open, or any business for that matter. And we are working very, very assiduously on the reopening of the transport sector. So you remember this ministry has the responsibility for transport as well. So we are working with the COVID committee, and we are looking there at maybe next, the Prime Minister hinted at it, maybe next couple of weeks, maybe before, but we want to ensure that when the transport is open, the risk is reduced to zero. Remember, in the closed environment, one asymptomatic person, that is, you don't know, he or she doesn't know. They come on the bus, and in this environment, if we have 6 people on the bus, then it can explode. In addition to this, we must step up, and testing is extremely expensive and difficult. We have to test people with respect to the construction sector, and don't talk about when you go on the bus. The Ministry of Health is coming up with a program of how do we test people by sampling them. Do you take one person out of every 4 trips buses, and you just simply must test and must continue to test. If we do the test and over a 4 weeks period, we see that we have no further incident of infection, then we'll be extremely happy. So it's a stretch on the government. It's a strain on the busmen to get all the things in place. And we are working on this. The other Prime Minister already said that we use over $30 million in short space of time in collections that we cannot collect. And so everything is coming at this particular time. And it has to be done economically, health-wise, and together with the people, the transport people, the construction people. And when you reopen the bus route, now it's retail, and everybody will be traveling. That's a fearful thought. And we have to give it tremendous consideration.
When it comes to the cost for contractors, they have to incur costs to get their workers to site. One of the requirements also calls for the provision of kits, COVID-19 kits to each worker. There's the setting up of the washing station, I believe, at each site. Yes, the contractors incur that cost themselves, or would government be helping them meet those expenses?
No, they're not part of the stimulus package. I think they will have to set this up. And let's face it, the smaller contractors do not do it, maybe because they cannot do it, the rate that they will take for the job. But these things must become a standard norm, even with the help of the Almighty, we eradicate this COVID-19. It must be part of the task. Whenever you go on the site and you set these up, in the larger economies, these must be done. So we're getting there. And we recognize that it will put a strain on the homeowner who is paying for it, or the employer who is paying the contractor to do the work. So they must up a little bit, and the contractor must take a little less. Yes, it's difficult. And when we look at the cost, I could remember when we were doing the Engineering Act, and that requires now every building above a certain size to get engineering input. That raised the price of a normal house. It would maybe 300,000. It must go up to 325,000 in that amount. However, the risk analysis, and banks will lend you more because you have an engineer. not only a draftsman drawing something for you, architectural-wise, but the engineer will now come to check this, the steel, the strength of the steel, the size of the steel, etc., the load bearing capacity, there's a small earthquake and so forth. And so the bankers were ready to lend money to the persons. But the price went up. We could see the same effect here, but it is absolutely necessary. Maybe you could relax it, after a while and give them a number of years to put this in place. But right now, we believe it is absolutely necessary.
Prime Minister also mentioned that with the resumption of construction, this would be a major boost for Grenada's economy. Do you have an idea as to the impact this would have in rejuvenating, revitalizing the economy, getting some economic activities going? In terms of figures, percentages, what are we anticipating from the resumption of the construction sector?
It will have a tremendous impact. The COVID-19, our local estimate was 10.5 drop in growth in economic activities. The IMF came, they said it. I won't report it to them. They agreed. It was 9%. They brought this up to 9%. That is the drop. Now, next year, it is projected that we will rise by over 6% from this year. That doesn't mean that we'll be back where we were here, but in the improvement will be 6%. And I dare say construction will be close, over 30% of that 6%. So construction will be at least 2% in it. We know with the tourism and so get back that they could easily rise quickly in the service sector, but we don't believe they will come back on time. So construction is the main way of that 6% rise. About half of it will be through construction. And when we know of the projects that we have on stream, maybe 1.82% of the backlog that we're coming up with. But the additional ones that will come on stream, no, it's 3% of that 6% and 4% of that 6% will be construction.
I just wanted to clarify as well, with the resumption in the construction industry, does that only include projects that started pre-COVID, or can new projects start?
Yes. Any project that has gone through all its stages, physical planning stages, etc., and it has the financing, can commence. So you cannot say, well, I'm going to the bank for the money and I can't do that. You have the money, commence.
Okay.
Same procedures, follow the same rules. And let us say 1 month, whether it's 2 weeks or 1 month that the transportation is open, then you will see construction increasing tremendously and its contribution to the economy. In fact, for the rest of the year, it is what will take us back from the negative where we are to a zero and to the positive. Like I say, the only thing that could be the construction sector now is the services sector, like tourism and so forth. And do we see tourism coming back in that manner? No. If they do, if it does, it can't beat construction. Equal it or beat it, but we don't see that. Therefore, construction is the lead growth factor right now.
The question just slipped my mind. Oh, I remember it now. In terms of the deadline, is there a deadline to submit the applications for the resumption of the work on the projects?
No, there is no deadline. We think this will continue as we go along for the rest of the year. The deadline is for us, and that is why we're putting things in place to go, somebody makes an application, we should go out there and inspect it, and we give ourselves 24 hours to do that. That's why we're working with housing, we're working with our road officers, we're working with our engineers, and we have a team. The Ministry of Health will be putting a technical team together. They will have knowledge of health, not in the standard of nurses to be attending to people, but more environmental and public health persons that they will train, and they will be all there with us. These are the persons that will be able to go to inspect the work site, to see that you have the wash basins where they should be, to see that you have the sanitation systems where they should be. And we, from the ministry, may inspect something else. But I think the focus is definitely on them because we want to prevent the spread of COVID. And they will say, go ahead, and they will inspect you again, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks from there. And if you're failing, they will recommend, and the regulations provide for that you shut the work down. That is where, again, the owners have a responsibility, and not owners who only live on the job. That they follow the rules, because when you get shut down, your home will take 3 more months because they have to put things in order, and health then will be looking at you, and you come back for you to come back and stream. And this is what we going on a public education program. And we want to thank GBN and the others for the great work that they have been doing in this regard. To say everybody, it's not only contractors now, we zero in on the contractors, but it is your work. We refer to you as the employer, the person who pays the contractor. You have to take responsibility as well. Otherwise you pay the price. If you get it shut down, what happens to you? You're planning to move into your home in 6 months, you got to move in it in 9 months. No, let us all work on this together.
We received or reviewed 200 applications so far. What number are you expecting, considering the amount of construction jobs we have island-wide? How much are you expecting, applications you're expecting to receive and review?
600.
Okay. All right.
600. The larger, we have some pretty large projects, but they have all the resources to put things in place. It's the small and medium-sized ones that, will take up most of our time. And the Ministry of Health will certainly have to train a next batch. We'll have to train a next batch of inspectors to go there. Because what we want them to do is to commence, but at the same time, we also have to maintain the monitoring so that we do not have a resurgence. Well, we shouldn't say resurgence because we did not have a big spike, but we do not have any incident with respect to infections in the construction sector.
How many inspectors do we currently have, and maybe what's the number you're looking to train as we go through this process?
The Ministry of Work would have about 30. We want to train another 60. And the Ministry of Health, I believe they'll be training a figure like 30 in the minimum to start with us. And these persons, so if 30 persons go out in one day, they can do 30 of the 600. So in 20 days, they can rotate within 1 month, every site should be inspected.
Okay.
And we will be asking them to train some more. We know it's tight on government, but we have to do what must be done.
Okay, to get everything in order. Understood. Let's take a break and come back. We're speaking with Minister of Infrastructure and Development, Honorable Gregory Bowen. This is To The Point. We'll be right back.
Female health issues, liver cleansing, weight.
They're the one.
See it first on GBN. All the stories, from politics to industrial unrest. Tourism.
Light it up. Light it up. Station to Grenada.
Entertainment. culture.
Great shot there of Anderson Peters from Grenada, the Commonwealth Games bronze medalist.
See more on GBN, your most credible source for information. Nightly at 7.
Coughs and sneezes spread diseases. So cover coughs and sneezes, please. Not with a rag or bandana. They trap germs. When you use the rag again, you put germs on your hands and everything else you touch. When you cough or sneeze, cover your mouth and nose with tissue. Throw the tissue in a bin and wash your hands afterwards. If you don't have a tissue, cough into your sleeve or elbow. Alcohol-based hand sanitizers are also effective in cleaning hands.
Greetings everyone. I hope this message meets you and yours in the best of health as we join in encouraging all to act responsibly.
COVID-19 presents the most serious
and deadly challenge
any of us will experience in our lifetimes.
We must act now.
Welcome back to The Point for Wednesday, May 13th, 2020. We're speaking with Minister of Infrastructure and Development, Honorable Gregory Bowen, as we get ready to reopen the construction industry to, as the Prime Minister says, to give the economy an uptick in activity. Before we get to the question and answer segment from members or viewers and listeners of the program, in terms of contact information, if people need to make phone calls, as well as those who would want to walk in to submit their applications, how can they do that and who can they contact?
Yes, thank you. I know the Permanent Secretary gave some contact numbers, so I'll want to start with Karakou and Petit Martinique. And that number is 443-6026, extension 6260, and that's the Karakou Road Office. And the person there is Richard Strout. Now, when you contact that particular number, advise them that they should have many more than one. So they will give you another one and another one. If one is sufficient, fine. But Karakou, we know, has a lot, and they also have to work for Petit Martinique, so you may have a contact number in Petit Martinique. But so if I could repeat it again, 443-6026, and since you are aware that that's the Karakou Road Office, you might also look it up in the directory. From the Grenada standpoint, we do have numbers, and I will be repeating this in a while, but I know many of you have it because you walked into the office and we did a lot for you there. So I don't know if you want to repeat it now or a little later.
We could repeat it a little later. Oh. We'll repeat it a little later. Let's go to the phone lines. It's time for the question and answer segment here on To The Point. 435-2041 is the landline number. It is also the WhatsApp, but only written messages on the WhatsApp, please. You can also pose your questions on the GBN Television Facebook page and the Grenada Broadcasting Network's YouTube channel. Before I go to the phone lines, I don't want to miss any of the Facebook questions, so I'll ask this one. Minister Bowen, has the government requested moratoriums of any of our loans from any of our international lending agencies?
Oh, so we're not talking construction now. We've asked for all the agencies, yes, we have requested moratoriums, and it's a decision made by the G20 country, the IMF and the World Bank. they have given us some cash assistance, and it's a requirement that we ask for the moratorium. And it's not to say because it's a requirement that we would not have done it. It just makes it a little easier for these creditors to listen to you when you ask for that. Yes, so we have requested it. And the private sector persons, you don't have to listen to what the IMF or what the G20 say. I think they listen to the person who borrowed the money. They listen to what you say based on how you have been repaying your loans. So we have asked for about 6 creditors. We've asked them for moratorium. If we get 3, then we'd be happy.
Okay. Another Facebook question. Considering the size of the construction, we have a lot of major projects across the island. How would social distancing be effective when so many workers will be in each other's faces? How can we guarantee social distancing at the sites?
Good. We cannot 100% guarantee, but I believe working with the bigger contractors, I think we pretty much are certain that it will be done. You have staggered commencement of work. So if you have 200 persons, you might have 50 coming in at one time, come in at 7 and leave 2. You may have 50 coming in at different areas within the work sites. In other words, they could divide the work sites into 4 sites so that they can manage and supervise it. And they will be employing persons for this particular task to ensure that it's followed. So they may have the resources to pay for that. The smaller contractors, that's where we are more concerned. We ask them to employ or make that part of the foreman's task. One of the issues is, you heard that the person coming should register and mark the names down and so on. Part of the issues raised was that should everybody be holding the same pen to write the name in the same book? The people themselves, the workers themselves will be frightened. Therefore, the onus is on the contractor to either get a secretary or let the foreman undertake that. And surprisingly, while we discuss it, the people are asking that, the foremen and the people, they come and we say, no, you don't have to let everybody sign. In fact, we are not advocating that you let everybody hold the same pen and same paper. One person should do it.
That's a good point. Before I go to the phone lines, this question. As we know, Carriacou and PT Martinique have not reported any positive COVID-19 cases. What would be the protocol for construction workers traveling from the mainland to the sister isles with construction projects there? Would they have to be quarantined before starting any work on the island or tested before boarding the ferry?
I think any tests would be done before boarding the ferry. There'd be no quarantine. In fact, unless you're from Carriacou and you want to go home, you should not leave and enter the ferry if you're showing signs. And you could have the whole testing exercise, but you could go test and you'll have to wait for the test, remember? So then go on to the ferry. But being in Grenada, remember, would you be tested before you enter a bus from St. John to St. Patrick? Carriacou and PT Martinique is the same, principle with respect to one country. You may have more risk on the boat, and so more things should be done, more precautions should be taken. But I'm not seeing that you'll be quarantined when you get up there. If you're living up there and you figure you have a problem, don't travel at all. Even though you live in St. George and you are comfortable in St. Don't go on a bus at all. You might use your private car to come, but to get into Carriacou, you have to use the boat.
All right, let's go to the phone line. Good morning.
And good morning to the minister. I sit here listening, and I'm smiling very, very loudly. Everything that you see is so right. The construction sector is that sector which will turn around the economy. I've been preaching this for quite a number of years, the expansion of the economy and the infrastructure. So yes, you're right that once we get construction going, I think we'll be in good state. However, over the years I have been calling for that, which is the creation of new roads, especially in the East Coast from Lassages, or let's say from Lassages to Crowshoe. That East Coast, as he says, which has so much potential for development. All these roads leading to the beaches are bad, and you may have to do new roads even in private areas here as you prepare. Because I predict an upsurge in the construction sector where people are coming back and they want lands to build. However, these roads are very bad. It doesn't have some of the services like electricity and water. I don't know if your government is concentrating on that. However, to do all of this, which is important, I believe the government should actually concentrate now on importing its own heavy equipment for the purpose of creating this road, because I know it will cost you much less buying your own equipment than hiring equipment to do it, so you'll have some savings there. But I will tell you that I will prove you wrong in the tourism sector. Once the construction sector get going, you will see agriculture is on the move with more homes, etc. And then the tourism sector are going to pick up. So once you get construction going in a real way, on a massive level, the other sectors definitely will start to move. And I think that is exactly where you have to start, and that is where the country should go. The construction sector should never subside. And once you get that going in a real way, then I think, covert, we're going to make it look small. Have a good day, man.
Thank you very much, caller. Minister?
Yes, thank you. Well, I think we are on the same page, the caller and I. And the only point I want to make is I did not say that agriculture would not come back. As a matter of fact, do you know that agriculture is the only part of the economy that is projected to grow in this dismal time? Construction will fall, has fallen. Tourism, you see, wipe off the mark and so on. However, in all of this, agriculture is expected to grow. But it will never reach the stage of its contribution to the economy as tourism and its associated sector. That's 28%, even rising to 30%. And agriculture is still in the single digit, although very important. And now we have to add the agro-processing it to get it into the double digit and up. So yes, I agree that will continue to grow. But once the tourism sector comes back on stream, it's going to take construction, it's going to take agriculture, etc. That was the only point, that I made with respect to tourism. And I agree with you, a lot of things that must happen. Government getting back into equipment. One of the reasons that we moved away into contracting is that so that we do not have the yards that we want in all. We have the public sector. Remember public works? Instead of old equipment and junk equipment lying there. And in my stint as Minister for Works, when I look at vehicles that were on the dump, and you sell it, the Board of Service sold a piece of equipment. Let's say it's a car or a small van, and you're driving down the road, you nearly get into an accident because you're turning. That's not the same vehicle we had in the private sector hand. That vehicle is pushing and beautiful. And we recognize that we do have a problem with ourselves maintaining vehicle in the private sector. And that's one of the reasons that we move out. Even if I agree with you, we could make a saving. But we understand who pays the taxes. It's the same private sector person who may charge a little more. Even us, yes, he charges government and he charges the other people, the private sector, more. So yes, we could go in and compete with them for ourselves. But at the same time, we're losing so much that a piece of equipment that should last us 20 years will give us 5 and 10 years. That's a cost we have to put into it. So when we analyze all of these things, we say let the private sector do what it can do best and run equipment and so forth. Even the rollers on the road, the government used to have the big rollers, we rent those. They're not breaking down, It's not that government own and you get a breakdown and so forth. We're just not cut out for that because we do not operate in an efficient mode. We do not have the latitude that the private sector has in dealing with personnel, etc. And we recognize this. We are there for a specific purpose to serve the community. We have tight rules and regulations. We cannot go out of it. You have the Public Service Commission to do what they have to do. The private sector could come and say, no, you don't do this today, stay away from this part of the job. But we have to go to the Public Service Commission to ask certain people, to stay from some things. So rather than aggravate and get the country, on edge, and I think they're quite happy with what we're doing. We've built so many contractors. Why do you think construction has gone up like this? Because we are not hiring people, 10 men and a day rate to go there. We have built the construction industry to where it is today with so many small contractors, even the larger ones. And that is why the contribution to the economy has gone up. Yes, it will be cheaper for us, but when you look at that is immediately. But when you look at all the costs, I don't think that it will be cheaper for the country.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Yes, I would like to ask Mr. Bowen, if I get up this morning and I have a problem with my toilet, how am I to treat that? Do I have to apply for a form? Because most times you get up and there's always a little problem in your home. So I would like to know, as a home keeper, how do we treat that? Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
Okay. In the regulation, section 5, thanks for your question. These items of construction were long exempted. That is, you can get it done. But that was only these small portions. Your toilet, they specifically mentioned toilets, roof, so you would not leak, and electricals. These are dangerous. At that point in time, persons cannot travel. So you could even apply to the Commissioner of Police, and he would allow the person to travel even on off days. Because as you say, these are dangerous things, health hazard with your toilet. You can be shocked and even electrocuted, that you face death from the electrical, and you can be disturbed tremendously from the rain coming through the roof. So long before construction was open, these were allowed. So we can continue this. But what we're saying, at that point in time, the risk was much lower because only those types of construction. And even then, you should be ensuring that the plumber who comes to your home is dressed properly, will leave certain item of clothing outside and not close to yours, or fold up in a parcel so that he can put it back on when he leaves without contaminating anything in the house. So all of us should have been very careful then. Now that we're opening up the sector, we are imposing it and saying, yes, you should be careful. But these small items, they were open before, and you can continue to do it. However, follow the rules that we now making mandatory. When you call him, you say, you look at him and say, no, you can't come into my place like this. There is the wash basin, and it should not be the same wash basin that you should be using. Whether you want to put it a bucket and a can outside, a temporary makeshift, please do it. You should have been doing it before, because months ago you could have brought in your electrical person or your plumber. But I'm sure none of us was thinking that way. No, we have to think so. So please, you don't have to fill a form out for that particular one. That these items were exempted over 6 weeks ago.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Blossom. How are you?
I'm good.
Good morning, Minister. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you.
All right. My question, as it relates to construction and farming as a combined entity, with the expected uptick in agriculture, and of course now that government has put plans in place for additional support of farm labor, when would we see that the project for the farm roads, when would we see that coming back on stream? Because of course we know one of the main problems that farmers would have over the years is not really production, but getting their crop from their land to the main road and so on to get it sold. So when would we see that going back on stream?
Thank you, caller.
Okay, very good question. And this is one of the projects that was on stream and was put on hold by the COVID virus and the necessary regulations that we had to put in place. We are now looking to just sign the contract, and once it is signed, the person will get a 30 days mobilization. We have the contract in place. we did not sign the contract during the COVID period, and the contract has been reviewed by both parties. So by the end of the week, we should sign the contract, and he has 30 days to mobilize. So that will be on stream, let's say 30 days. If the contractor can move on site before that, then so be it. But the contract requires, all these big contracts require that you give them a 30 days mobilization. So you'll see that on stream, and that will add to the contribution that construction will make to the economy. Yes, you have many roads there, and they will be done.
A WhatsApp question: can we get an update on the Las Address Hotel projects? What steps are being taken to address the environmental concerns raised in the initial phases of the project, i.e. destruction of mangroves?
Yes, about initial stages. Yes, that was raised subsequently to the projects being approved. And the contractor and developer have both agreed that they will resuscitate all that requires to be done under the environmental rules and regulations. I think they will replant, and they will do all that is necessary under the eyes of the Ministry of the Environment. That first part, the mangrove, I don't know if you could go into the sea and plant a tree there, but they'll be working with the environment to do all that is necessary and to continue the project as soon as the COVID relaxation, the construction is there, not only for us, but for tourism as well.
I have sorry, go ahead.
I think the important point is that complaints were made, and the developers and the contractor have agreed to remedy whatever was done improperly.
I have a question here outside of the scope of what we were speaking about, but I guess as the person saw you here, they thought they should ask as it relates to the Grenlec issue. Who are the people interested in purchasing the majority shares in Grenlec? Is there any truth that a Chinese company or there is Chinese interest in purchasing the shares in Grenlec?
That question, for reasons more than one, we will answer, at a later date. And this is by joint cooperation, with Grenlec with respect to, answering certain questions, about this time.
Are you able to? Sorry, go on.
But people say, well, we have a very acrimonious, relationship with Grenlec, but leave that in the board. They can conform with Grenlec. That neither of us will, speak about these things at this particular time.
Are you able to share how soon the shares will be going on sale and how much of them will be sold to Grenadians? Are you able to tell us that?
Once we have it within our powers, we have announced very clearly that we believe the shares should go to Grenadians. But if the shares go to Grenadians, you cannot sell it to other persons. I might sell a very small portion, but I know what the questions that have been posed to me is always about, selling that block, the 50% owned by WRB. And if government has its way, these will be sold to the local institutions and local people. Of course, if they can't take up all, they will have the option, then the rest, could be sold to an external entity. But I want to make it, abundant. And the public can confirm with Grenlec that at this point they will hear neither of us making any statement as to who would do this and who would that. Very soon, both of us will agree that no, we can remove the gag and go forward. And in context, let me thank Grenlec for WRB is of course, the controlling share interest. So without their permission, as major component holders of the board, then we could not have gotten the $3 million to facilitate with government's over $7.5 million for a 3 months 30% reduction in electricity. As I mentioned this, therefore, is it not appropriate that the both parties say during this period that we don't talk about each other, don't mention anything whatsoever? I'm just asking you as a reporter, do you see any wisdom in this? We're cooperating in certain areas, anyone, they could make a mistake, we could make a mistake. So is it not worthwhile for the both parties to agree, listen, let's stop anything that we talk to the press and public about. A time will come for that, but not now. I'm just asking you personally as a reporter with great experience, do you see wisdom in that?
As a reporter, I would want the information, to be honest. As a reporter, I would want the information, but I guess I could understand wanting to be on the same page with the information, how it's shared, when it's shared, and ensuring everybody has the same bit of information going forward. I could get that. But as a reporter, I really want to press you for the information, but it's okay.
You know, I understand that, but I just as wisdom. And this is not a government thing, you know, we will talk. Yes, but if the parties say, well, no, let's hold on and get off this ring for the time being. So the public could understand, maybe ease up on the questioning for a while. I think I will be the first one to say, no, let's talk. Yes.
There's a WhatsApp question before we wrap up. Can the minister update us on the ICSID Tribunal award to WRB Grenlec of over EC $200 million? The report is public.
Yes, all of this falls within the area you see in Grenlec. You will not hear Grenlec speaking about it.
Okay.
You will not speak about it until, you know, something, at time we agree, yes, it's time to go forward.
All right. And in relation, I'm asking as they're coming. Lord, Grenlec has started the questions. Yes. Is the gag order, does it apply also to, if you can share information on the shares owned by Grenadians, will it be taken over by government, which is what started this, the interest and the conversations over the past few weeks?
Right. So let us say it is not a gag order.
Okay.
Parties, you know, coming together.
Okay.
Them because we approached them to start to cooperate on certain things within this COVID environment. And they thought it best, well, okay, we could cooperate, but I don't want to say anything about me. That's understood. And I would not say anything about you during the period. So you may even see further cooperation as we move forward there. But with respect to the shares of the individuals outside of WRB's 50%, the issue came about because we ask, and we always do, for experts to really help in writing the regulations and recommending legal changes. When we opened the sector in 2015-16, we paid $10 million US, you know, with St. Lucia. It was not done by, you know, Gregory Bowen or by Keith Mitchell or by Joe or somebody who doesn't like Grenlec. It was done by experts who came in and gave us the rules to the best practices in managing the electricity services sector, both for the benefit of the consumer and for the benefit of the provider. So it's not a one-sided thing. So the regulations came in place. The laws came in place, and now we must put the regulations, which will tell you how the laws will be implemented, the details. And so we got assistance from Germany, from a lot of countries, even from the US itself. We have regulations that they paid for, not only for Grenada, but for the region. And the consultants that they paid for placed in their report, one, that at the end of the term of the license, that people should hand their shares to the government. As part of enacting regulations, this must go out for consultation. It doesn't matter that the government likes it or dislike it. If we remove anything from the consultant's report before sending it out to the general public, then that country that paid 300, and the consultants got a lot, 300, 400,000, $500,000 US, and you tamper with it, what do you tell that country? So we sent it out as a consultants recommended. Of course, we got the report, and in one public meeting, I say, you may ask us how we feel. We will not go out and tell you whether we like or dislike this clause. You come back clearly saying that you dislike it. We make a decision then. Then we could add our point to it. We would not say what is government point that will influence you. It came back very clearly that the public did not want that, even after the license has reached its end, that you offer the shares to government. And as I pointed out, you have some shares. What would a smart person do? You will encumber the shares in such a manner that if government must take it from you, then government is not getting anything from you. The government is getting a liability. So when we looked at this clause, We never liked it either. But we would not extract it from the rules, but now we can, because the entire population say, no, we don't want it. So the country, we say, listen, we went out, did the consultation, and this 98% of the people say remove that. So out it goes. Okay? And it was not something put by the government. We tell them we're going out to consultation, but certain parties just extracted that piece and said, this is what government wants to do. All the regulation passed. The law requires that we go out and consult. So this will not be the first part. When the consultants write the recommendations, we'll go out to the public again. And I ask the public here, just look for what you don't like in it. We may already decided that we don't like it, but we must extract it after consultation. Take, for example, 90% of the people say, we like that. We like the government, we like Keith Mitchell, we like that whoever was in government, whether it was Gary Tillman out, we like that. Give them the 1%. Do we have a leg to stand on to come and extract it from the regulations? No, because the law says go out for consultation and take into consideration what the consultant says, the consultation says. And that is what we have been doing, and we have to do it by law, you know. We can't just sit in cabinet and write regulations. After it's written, we go out for the chambers, the churches, the unions, the consumers. We go out for consultation there. And I want to make this abundantly clear. And people got the wrong impression that we were trying to pass legislation. We didn't write the legislation. They were given to us in the same way that we gave to you, because we begged the country for $500,000 US so that they can write best practices. And now you just make your voices heard as you did. And those persons who come to you on the social media to tell you that this is what government wants to do, that is blatant untruth. And understand that we will come back to you again with other type of regulations. Just make your voices heard. And when we ask you to come out, don't let 10 people come out. And when you go into the room, all you see is Grand Lake workers. You are consumers. Come out in your numbers and say, we like this. Because if only Grand Lake is there and they make a consultation and they participate in the consultation, we may get the wrong idea. If only the union rich, we may get the wrong idea. You, the consumers, must come out. Please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Minister Bowen. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We're not able to quickly run through the numbers, but I know the numbers have been posted on the ministry's Facebook page.
Yes.
As well as the Ministry of Health's Facebook page, I believe, and on various platforms.
Yes. And they can simply call 2271.
The ministry's number.
71. That's the ministry's number. You call and you ask, because there's a list posted in front of the lady who mans that club, and then she can tell you. And yes, every parish has a list. So you don't have to come down here as you did in the beginning. Just go to the road offices in Karakou, in all parishes.
And get the information.
Are the road offices numbers.
Okay.
So you can directory as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bowen, for sparing some of your time with us here on To The Point. Appreciate it. Stay safe.
Thank you. And same thing to the general public, and let us work together, particularly the construction sector and very soon the transportation sector. We have a meeting with the buses presidents, buses associations presidents very soon as we move into reopening the transport sector. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you. That was Minister of Infrastructure Development Gregory Bowen, our guest this morning on To The Point. We thank him for once again speaking with us and shedding some light on the latest developments. That's the end of my time and the end of the program. Joseph is up next with Mid-Morning Buzz. Have yourselves a safe, productive Wednesday. If you're heading out, do so safely. Protect yourself, protect your loved ones. Hand sanitizers, masks and gloves if you have them, and ensure that we continue to stay COVID-19 safe and contain the spread of the virus. My name is Blossom. I'm bidding you a very blessed Wednesday.
Right place, right